Good evening. It's 6 o'clock, so we'll go ahead and get started. My name is Mark Scott. I'm the Chief of Police in Americus, Georgia. And with me tonight is James Fox, who's the retired Chief of the Newport News, Virginia Police Department. And we are the assessment team that's working to assess the Burlington Police Department for the Commission on Accreditation for Law Enforcement Agencies. Burlington Police Department is part of the accreditation process. They have been since 1989, so they've been an accredited agency for a long time. Our job is to come in and look at the 400-plus standards that make up accreditation, interview people, look at the processes of the police department, and determine if they've maintained compliance with those standards for the past 3 years. Purpose of tonight's hearing is to allow the public and any employees of the agency to come and address us and give us any information you'd like to give us about the Burlington PD. Anything you tell us tonight, we'll take into consideration as we're making up our report, and the report will be forwarded on to the commission. So if any of you would like to contact the commission directly, just feel free to see me after the hearing tonight. I'll provide you with the address and the email address for the program manager that works with this department. Are there any questions? Okay, I believe we have a sign-in list somewhere. It's still being signed in, so we'll give you a second. If you haven't signed in and you would like to speak, please write your name on there. I am from South Georgia, so North Carolina is not too far out of my wheelhouse, but I do tend to butcher names. So if I mispronounce your name, please forgive me and just correct me, and we'll move on. Yes, sir.
So, just come forward and say something.
Well, I'm going to call you off the list when I get it. But
Oh, okay. I'll wait for you.
we got to give the early birds a little something for getting here early.
We're pleased you're not bashful, though.
All right, we'll start on that. I think the lady came in. You can just let her sign the next one. All right, Miss Natalie Janicello. Did I get it? Very good. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Natalie Janicello. I'm a reporter at the Times News, which is our daily newspaper here in Burlington. And I've been covering crime here for about 3.5 years. I started around the same time that Chief Smythe began here in Burlington. So I'd like to say that as a whole, I have a very positive working relationship with the Burlington Police Department that includes Chief Smythe, that includes Assistant Chief Verdick, on down a list of captains and lieutenants and sergeants and even officers who I interact with on my job, whether it's at a crime scene, whether I'm calling them about an investigation, running into them at community events, city meetings, etc. All very positive. This isn't a department that I have a hard time getting on the phone. People call me back. Can't say that about every department that I do interact with, but as a whole, the Burlington Police Department has been great about staying in touch with the media. They send press releases on almost a daily basis about events that are going on, or mostly crimes that are going on here in the city, sometimes also about some of their positive, proactive policing efforts as well. But they have demonstrated that they're really making an effort to stay in touch with the community, specifically frequent updates on Twitter and Facebook. Chief Smythe got most of their telecommunicators to begin updating their Twitter account. It's mostly where wrecks are happening around the city, but it's still good to keep the public informed if they're seeing some cop cars or fire trucks, ambulances, etc. around that, it isn't necessarily a shooting or a murder or something like that. I don't have anything negative to say about working with these guys, specifically Chief Smythe. And like I mentioned before, that isn't something I can say about all the local departments I work with. So speaking as a member of the news media and a resident of the city of Burlington, I've been pleased with the efforts they've made to engage the community, remain transparent, update the media, and really keep all of us informed about what's going on in the city.
Okay, thank you very much. Richard Bell.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
I was invited here. I'm in the Citizen Police Academy. I've been in Burlington County 6 years. I'm a retired federal government employee. All the interactions I've had with the Burlington Police Department have all been positive. I met Chief Smythe a few years ago, and I've met a few other officers, captains, lieutenants. They've been great. I've had no complaints. I have no complaints with the police department. Only complaint I had with Chief Smythe is he gave me a challenge coin, and I challenged him, and I lost. So I had to bring some donuts to him. But you know that. Remember that if he challenges you, you better have your coin.
Thank you, sir. Glenn Owens.
As you already got my name there, so I am a representative from the Abington Place, the homeowner association, and with Community Watch that we have there. So I work closely at times with Greg Turner, who is a point of contact. Also had Greg in to speak at our church. The interaction personally I've had with the police department has been within our church. There's a retired police officer, and one of the detectives I've known since I was age 9, so it's been quite a few years back. And occasionally I see these individuals, patrolmen, parked in our church parking lot, and I quite often go over and talk to them and find out if they had a military background, and several of them do. So we establish a rapport. All the officers I've ever dealt with, including those who come to our national night out, and they probably say this to all the neighborhood watches, but they always say we have the best one because we feed the best. So the fire department missed last year because they had too many wrecks out on the interstate. It was that bad evening. It was a Tuesday, first Tuesday in August. But my overall assessment of the Burlington Police Department, they've been responsive. We had a incident within our neighborhood a little over a month ago in which an attempt was made to pick up a child. So there was a quick response to that, and I'm not sure whether that individual was ever apprehended, but because of a very vague description of the individual, so wasn't much information to go on. But my overall assessment is a well-organized and running machine we've got here.
Thank you, sir. Julie Brown.
Hello. I'm glad to be here. I'm one of the residents here of this community, and I became a member of the Burlington Citizens Police Department Academy, and it was about 3 years ago. And since then, I've become so involved with them because everybody has just been awesome. You couldn't ask for a better team of people to work with. I have done so many things with them now. I am a volunteer with them now with the police department, and I do security in our city park. I started a neighborhood watch. I've worked with different groups doing different things with the police department. I find every one of them awesome to get along with. I've done ride-alongs. Great. I've learned so much. I am so proud, just very, very proud of our police department. They're there for you whenever you need them. They've got your back. Thank you.
Thank you. Pamela Thompson.
Good evening. I am Pamela Thompson. I'm on the Board of Education here in Alamance County, and I've also taken the Citizens Academy because I so want to be a cop. So bad, but it's just not going to happen.
We're hiring in Georgia.
But I have worked with sexual assault and domestic violence victims for many, many years, and I've worked with the detective aspect of the emergency room calls and all that, and I've never had a bad detective. They've always been very well trained and very well informed of how to treat a victim in the hospital. That's a whole different ball game. Just a whole different ballgame, and they have always been absolutely amazing. They provide SROs in some of our middle and high schools, and anytime I've called Chief Smythe about something like that, I can always say he's been right on it, and he just doesn't put anybody in our schools. This is a very special person that has to build relationships. It's almost more about that than law enforcement, that if there has to be that part of it, it's handled very, very well. We have a great relationship between him and our school system. I had mentioned to him during the police academy about possibly starting a municipalities academy at one of our trade schools that we're building. We started a fire academy this year, and he nodded, so I said, okay. So I got him a meeting with our superintendent, and that's something we're looking very very, very forward to, because we would like to give the impression of just how amazing law enforcement is at a younger population. Law enforcement has a lot of things going with them today, a lot of bad judgment. I'm definitely a big supporter of law enforcement. So I just feel like if we can get that great mindset in the younger adults, we can really build a real diverse population, and I know Chief Smythe wants that. My husband's an assistant district attorney, and he's always talked about the great relationship between the detectives and any kind of crime that they've done. They're right on their reports. They're right on the money. They always show up in court on the day, and that's very important. I'm on the North Carolina Child Fatality Task Force, and a gentleman, Chief Harris from Brevard, asked me, was I from Alamance County? He said, well, a friend of mine and I used to be police officers out in Arizona. He said, Jeff Smythe. I went, oh, no. And he told me how lucky I was, and I already knew that. And I also bake for the police department, and Mountain Dew cupcakes would be the way to keep me out of prison. So I just want to thank you so much for being here. I can't tell you enough about them, and I've missed several things, but I know I'm very safe, and I know my family's very safe. So thank you.
Thank you. Robin Winteringham.
Good evening.
Evening.
My name is Robin Winteringham. I'm happy to hear you're from Americus. I serve with Habitat for Humanity, which was founded in Americus. We probably know some of the same people.
Our world headquarters is right there.
There you go. And
Ms.
you're from
Fuller's
Newport
one of
News?
our neighbors.
That's right. And you're from Newport News, is that right? Is what you said? My husband lives in Virginia Beach, so I'm in your neck of the woods every weekend. So anyhow, welcome to Alamance County. I would just like to share a couple of things with you about the Burlington Police Department that have really impressed me. In the not-too-distant past, we had a rash of shootings, firing into occupied dwellings and such, and the community was very concerned about it. The police department faced it head-on, offered a series of community events, and in those events, it wasn't just to appease people. Actual case information that was okay to share was shared. Who did what to whom and why, and where were the breakdowns, and how did these things happen? And as a citizen, I attended 2 of those, and it was quite reassuring to me to see how that worked, and for the police department to be so frank with all the attendees was really, really refreshing, and I appreciated that. Also, when other events have happened, such as the Black Lives Matter or the shootings in Orlando, and there have been community events, without fail, officers are there and have a presence there, and it's a very calming presence, and I'm appreciative of that too. Also, since I work for Habitat, obviously we have job sites, and we operate 2 Habitat restores in the community. And for whatever reason, sometimes we attract some property crime. People steal from us and break in. In fact, our restore's been broken into or attempted to break into 3 times in the last 18 days. And the police department is always there for us. They're reassuring, they're proactive, they make suggestions about how we can do things better, how we might better protect our stuff and our families. And also their response time is really fast, and I greatly appreciate that. I feel really confident in the administration and the officers who serve here in our community. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy Beatty. Brady. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Yes. I am the director of the Family Justice Center here in Alamance County, and so the family justice concept is very much about victims being able to come for one-stop services and get everything they need on site. Sometimes that means that agencies move people in full-time. Sometimes that means they respond. And so Chief Smythe and the Burlington Police Department has been very responsive. When victims call, they're responsive systemically. They've taken the leadership on new initiatives that required a lot of work on their part and a leap of faith sometimes, and they were willing to serve as the pilot for things like the lethality assistance program and mapping domestic violence calls. He actually lent his techie guy to some of the other law enforcement agencies to assist them with gathering that data. So the Burlington Police Department always comes and when we call, and that's really important to victims of violence who are ready to speak to somebody in need of assistance. So I have appreciated that leadership very much.
Thank you. Mr. Lee.
Oh, you cannot say my first name?
Sang-Ho Lee.
You got it.
We saw you on a video today.
Which video?
They were showing a video of the junior academy.
Junior Police Academy. Okay, thank you. So you know what I do for a living. I teach martial arts for a living. I've been a citizen of this community since 1991, so I've lived here for 25 years now, and have enjoyed meeting all the previous chiefs. Probably have gone through 5 different chiefs so far. Okay, and hope to have you here for a long time. I want to commend two big programs that Burlington Police Department is behind and supporting. One program is youth program. I am involved in those programs as well, their program, as well as Junior Police Academy and Police Explore program. I enjoy because I see a huge benefit helping those children. It just fulfills me. So that's the benefit that I'm looking for. And I'm glad to see that Burlington Police Department is fully supporting those programs. Another program that I want to speak to you about is a community outreach program, especially with the Chief Smythe. I guess with the social medias prevailing out there now, I can see what he's doing, his Facebook friends, so I get to see what he's doing. The other chiefs, we didn't have Facebook back then, so I didn't get to see their activities very much. But I know he's everywhere. I know he's busy, but he has a family, but he's everywhere, looking out for the, families around the community. So that means a lot to me. And not only that, I'm also part of an organization called Burlington Elements, Burlington Sister Cities, and we annually bring in youth exchange students, a couple weeks at a time, and he's hosted those kids, So not only he's about helping community folks here within our community, but he's willing to support communities outside of this community. So I want to say he's a great man, and I enjoy getting to know him. And I proudly, call him a friend, okay? And we have a great program here, so I hope you guys can see that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Patsy Bird.
All rise. Yes.
They won't do that all night.
I stand before you as a proud member of the Police Academy, the first one that Chief Smythe organized. You've heard all my colleagues, friends, community activists all bring good tidings and good accolades on the police department, and I just stand to say they're true. We have had the accreditation, as you said, for a number of years, but under Chief Smythe's leadership, it's kind of exploded. The sense of security, the sense of transparency of the police department has kind of engulfed the community. People that would normally not say anything or have a fear of calling and discussing concerns now do so without that fear. I became a Chief Smythe groupie when I became a part of the Police Academy. And I share that with a sense of humor because not only does he work behind his desk and he manages and leads his department, but he has been an intricate part of the community. He sits on multiple boards that I also sit on, and just, you might see him anywhere. I woke up one morning and there he was on Channel 2 News, and I'm like, I missed that email. But anyway, he is everywhere. There is one concern, though, and it's not just for Burlington's the city of Burlington's accreditation, but all. There's a department, and I work for the mental health, that there's a gray kind of area that officers can often go in and ebb and flow in and out of. There's always that element of just maintaining sound choice and operating efficiently. But then you have to take the officer out of that mode. After he takes off his uniform, he's a human being too. And so there is and remains, in my opinion, some much needed mental health support for not only Burlington Police, but all of them. You got to have that mental health, emotional support to continue to be driven and do the job as they do. where we're going next. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, do you have some more come in? Thank you. Okay. Kathy Heights.
Pays to get here early so you're not repeating what everybody else has said. In my role as city council member for the last 2 years, I have attended about a dozen installations for new police officers, about half a dozen DARE graduations, and I've participated in 2 of the many citywide strategic plan meetings and several of the police department-led public forums that were held to discuss strategies to respond to the spate of gun violence that we had for a couple of months this year. In my dealings with the Burlington Police Department, I have not seen anything but professionalism and dedication. I attended the National Night Out activities on August 1st with 2 officers, and we visited about 6 sites, and it seemed that they were greeting people everywhere we went, which greatly impressed me. The public forums that I mentioned were part of the See Something, Say Something campaign. That was a highly effective way of involving citizens in trying to solve a problem, bringing the police department and citizens together. The forums were held to get ahead of a situation, and citizens commented to me later about how grateful they were that the Burlington Police Department went to the community to review what was happening, how they were handling it, and to ask people for help. This effort was greatly effective and provided an additional insight into the ethos of the department for transparency and community policing in practice. It was a great relief when many of the perpetrators of violence were found with the help of the whole city. This department is one that makes me proud to be an elected official in Burlington. We are grateful that we've been able to maintain a well-thought-of and accredited police agency in our community. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. CeeLo, help me out.
Right.
I got the first part.
Right.
All set?
Yes.
I'm doing good so far.
Congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, my name's CeeLo Fawcett. I'm Mayor Pro Tem here in the city of Burlington. I guess I'm one of Chief Smythe's and the police department's biggest supporters. I asked for a few things from Chief Smythe, and I never get them. But anyway, I still like the guy. So, but anyway, our police department is one of the best police departments in the state of North Carolina. I think the citizens here began to understand how the police department operates. As Councilman Height said, that we had some issues here a few times, and see something, say something. When we reached out to the community, they began to respond, and that was a big help to the police department. And by us doing that, we gained confidence in the community that we weren't out to shoot people. We were here to protect you. And once the citizens understood that, then the police department job became a little easier. I feel like that it made it that way. All the police, I know quite a few of them because I've been on the council for 8 years, and I've done a lot of things with the police department. And I'm proud to say that I still have some things that I've got on my bucket list that I'm going to do. Whether Chief Smythe likes it or not, I'm going to do it because that's just what I want to be. I'm a wannabe police officer, and I'm a police chief in waiting with a little help from my friends to get me there if the age doesn't get me first. But again, we have one of the finest police departments in the state of North Carolina. And I think the citizens that are here, I have to mention, I think everybody's mentioned the Community Watch program, and my assistant police chief, Ms. Bird back here, she keeps our neighborhood safe. We live in the same neighborhood. And we're proud of our neighborhood. And because we started our neighborhood watch group, that makes us proud of our neighborhood. Without the assistance of the police department, we never could get there. The police comes through our neighborhood. They stop at my house. Sometimes I have to wave them on because my neighbor's out the door. What did you do this time? You know. So, but anyway, I'm proud to be a citizen here in Burlington, and I'm proud to be on the council to support our police department. Thank you.
Thank you. Barrett Brow.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. I'm president of the Alamance branch of the NAACP, and the police department here has been very good to work with. Right after I became president, there was a lot of shootings by police of unarmed African Americans, and we wanted to have a solidarity march. I talked to Chief Smythe about it. Once I assured him we were not attacking the police, but we believe that black lives should matter, and people should be reminded that they do matter, because it seemed like they didn't matter to everybody. After I talked to him and at the march, he showed up, he agreed to show up. He made a few phone calls. The Elon police chief showed up. The Hall River police chief showed up. The Graham police showed up. I mean, and I think that is the only Black Lives Matter I've seen where the police marched along in solidarity with the community. And that says something to people that the Black Lives matter to them. Not that they matter more than anybody else's, but it just seemed like some people needed a reminder. I also have been in close personal relationship with working to give him community input. And to his credit, he has asked for that input. He's the strategic planning workshops that were citywide and inclusive and open, I think gives people a sense of inclusiveness and that they have a voice. I think we have a problem in communities where the police seem to be unapproachable and seem to be operating against people, and I don't think that that is the case here. And I was traveling out of the country. I was 6 hours on a plane, and so I took with me a copy of a text from the Department of Justice on community policing, and I had an opportunity to read it cover to cover. And if you just go down the list, chapter by chapter, this police department is doing everything that they can do to protect and to serve and to be inclusive and open and transparent. And that is what we ask for from our law enforcement, is that we do these things in a proactive way so that we don't wait to things explode and people don't seem to have a voice. I think that's being done here, with the exception of every community forum that we've been to. People have wanted more beat cops on the street, walking neighborhoods, and I think that is I think the chief is open to that. I think that is a source of funding problem. So I'm glad to have city council people here. We would like the police department to be well funded and to be able to afford to have police in neighborhoods who know those communities and know the people who live there without having had some problem with the law. So I highly support this. I think as an NAACP president, I am probably the envy of the state in having a police department and chief here who is willing to be open and transparent and have a dialogue with the community.
Thank you, sir. George Hill.
Good evening. My name is George Hill, and I live in Burlington. Been here since I moved down from Baltimore. We're not going to talk about the Baltimore Police Department. But anyway, I served on the Baltimore Police Department for a year and a half before I decided that it wasn't for me, and I went back to Western Electric, and I'm glad I did. But I've been in this community for 30 years, and I've seen a few chiefs come through. I think we're fortunate. Burlington is fortunate to have Chief Smythe here. I think he has done an outstanding job. Not only that, I think he's very approachable. You know, I attend several meetings that we have had within the community. We normally have National Night Out at my location. We have block parties, and I think my job is, as the community organizer, is to try to get the neighbors to understand the police is not their enemy. I live in a multicultural neighborhood with a lot of Latino, Hispanics, and they have a distrust for the police department. But when we have our national night out and the police come and they can see them mingling around, and they talk to them, and the police are very friendly, they can see that openness. And I think that's what it's all about. We live in a country, and we're in turmoil right now. I'm glad to say that our police department is not in turmoil, you know. And I think that with dialogue and community support, we can always do better, you know, and I'm glad that I can be a part of it. I will continue to be a part of it, and I hope that our community will support the police to the highest extent. I also would hope that the city of Burlington would take a look at the funds that they need to operate, because it's not going to be an easy task, but to keep citizens safe, we need to put the money there. We need to talk. We need to put the money there. But as a citizen, I feel safe. I think my neighbors feel safe. If they have any questions, I feel they can feel free to give me a call or give the police department a call. And so far, it has worked to our advantage, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, that's the list. Is there anyone else who's come in who would like to speak? If not, this hearing is closed. Thank you all very much for coming.